Hello again, my name is Rodney Reynolds and welcome to another video review. Today I will be looking at the ZALMAN CNPS-6500A ALCU cooler.
Included in this package is the manual. You also get a 92mm fan. Dimensions on this fan is 92 by 92 by 25, and the weight on this fan is around 88 grams. Now, this fan actually goes attached to this bracket. I'll show you how that's done later on in the video review. Here we have some thermal compound. Also, we have the fan adjustment speed called the fan mate. You have the bolts and screws that are required, as well as actually some extra ones, and the heatsink itself. This heatsink is actually a combination of aluminum and copper. You can see here in the center that that kind of gold color here is copper, of course. That goes down to the center right here, and the rest of this block is really aluminum. There's 52 of these fins here, and on the bottom as well, you can see here it's pretty smooth. Certainly it's not really super smooth, but this certainly will do the job, and it will make excellent contact between the copper base and the aluminum base here against your particular CPU. Now, of course, you can use this on the Pentium 4 socket 478 or the older 423. It all depends on how you connect it here on the bottom. Now let me go ahead and show you how all this is mounted and how it actually goes installed into the motherboard, as well as how this bracket and fan combination goes mounted on the case so that it blows into this particular heatsink. If your motherboard, of course, is installed already into your case, you're going to have to remove it. Otherwise, if you're getting a brand new motherboard, then of course it's very easy out of the box. Go ahead and start to install. Next, go ahead and drop a CPU in. And also, of course, apply thermal compound. You could use your own, or you could use what is included in this package. Just to give you some overview here of the bolts and screws and nipples that are included in this, you have some springs here, and these go on the different bolts depending if you're using a socket 478 or 423. Now, if you're using the 423, you're going to be using the longer ones, and if you're using the socket 478, you'll be using the gold. And the springs here go on over it like so. And these are what's called the nipples or studs. These are the screws which will be mounted below the motherboard and come up through and go into those nipples. And also right here we have some screws that will go into the case and basically hold this bracket on. I'll show you how to do that though a little later. Now let's just get on to installing the heatsink itself. These screws right here, the shortest ones, go up through, and repeat that 2 other times to finish the job. Once that's finished, go ahead and connect the nipples or studs onto this on the other side. We have the nipple at the top, which is right here, and this basically goes screwed right down like so until you do this basically 2 other times and complete the job, installing 4 of them. Once they have been all installed, go on to the next part. So then place the heatsink right on top of those 4 nipples, so it's resting on there, and then of course you would proceed to go ahead here and install these springs and bolts all the way around the edges, and of course tighten all of these up. Once this part has been finished, you just go ahead and take this whole motherboard back to your case, and of course install the cards, connect up all the other things, and then proceed to go on to installing the bracket, as well as the fan on the bracket, and of course the fan made here from the fan into the motherboard. Now that the bracket has been installed, you can secure it down, of course, and position it the way you want. Now, if you want to reposition this, of course, just slacken or loosen the screws, and you can slide it back or forth. Now, I do not have any cards installed here, but if you did, of course, the card would be there. This would go on top of it, and this basically would anchor the bracket as well as the card. The next step to this, of course, is to install and attach the fan here at the top. You just have a nut here which goes through one corner of this fan, As you can see here, it goes from this corner right out the end, and this nut goes screwed onto it. And once, of course, you have it in the position you want, of course, this can swing anywhere or go back and forth. So once you have it where you want to go ahead here and screw it down securely. And then go on to the next part, which is basically attaching this into the fan mate and then attaching the fan mate into the motherboard. So attach it from the fan into the fan mate and then connect right here into the motherboard. First, I will demo this at full spin, which is basically 2,500 RPMs. The noise level on this now is 33 decibels. As you can hear, it's very, very quiet. Pull it all the way down to the minimum spin, which is 1,600 RPMs at around 20 decibels, and you can hardly hear it. So it's certainly very quiet at that spin. However, of course, the best place to have this would be up to the maximum if you want maximum cooling.
Overall, some good results with this cooler. I'm using an EBIT SD7 533 motherboard. Using that motherboard, using a 1.6A Pentium 4 at 2.4 gigahertz, and the voltage was at 1.6 volts. All those specs together, I got an idle temperature of 41 C. This is at max spin. And as well, at max load, I got a temperature of around 49, 48 C at max load using a program called Prime 95. Now, of course, if you reduce that fan, you're going to increase the degrees C or Fahrenheit. The temperature is certainly going to go up. I found that it goes up between 5 to 6 to 7 degrees Celsius. Certainly a big jump when you do lower that down, especially when your system is under load. But overall, certainly, this is a very solid product. It is very well crafted. The base on this is pretty smooth, so you get great contact between the base on the cooler and, of course, the CPU. However, it is a tad bit expensive, and of course, one other thing you have to keep in mind here is that you will need to remove your motherboard from your system if, of course, you have the motherboard installed inside of your system. If you don't, of course, it's not really an issue. However, if you want to upgrade in the future and put in another cooler, you're going to have to take out your motherboard. So, relatively speaking, you're going to probably need to take out your motherboard at some point. However, again, this cooler is really meant and designed to be quiet and to have really high quality and to do its job. And it does do that. It is a cooler that does perform and does perform better than the retail cooler that comes with the Pentium 4. You get temperatures with the retail cooler around 55 to 56, all the way up to 60 C at max load using the retail cooler, especially when you're overclocking. Now also keep in mind what I have this thing at. It's all the way from 1.6A all the way up to 2.4, so at 800 megahertz overclock using this cooler. Keeping it at those cooling temperatures is certainly a great product. Again, my name is Rodney Reynolds, and this has been another video review. Be sure to check back very soon. I will have a brand new one for you then. Also, check out my website at www.3dgameman.com, and while you're there, pop into the forums. If you haven't already registered, go in there, register. Registration is free, and of course, you could leave your own suggestions and comments in there, and there's all kinds of information about this product and about all the products which I video review. Until the next time, take care.